Good afternoon, everyone. Special welcome to any guests who are joining us. Welcome to St. John's Chapel. My name's Father Ed Herzog. I'm the chaplain and director of campus ministry here, and it's great to have you folks here for this memorial mass. You know, in the great tradition of our church, November is a time in which we remember the dead. You know, just last Friday we celebrated the Feast of All Saints, that great tradition of men and women who now stand before our Lord in that eternal reward of heaven. But then on Saturday, we celebrated the Feast of All Souls. You know, a long tradition in the church to pray for those who have died and to remember them. You know, and for me, every single time we come to this celebration, all right, this memorial service, this time to remember the dead, it helps me to come to remember two fundamental desires I have as a human being. Two things that get at the core of who I am, the core of what I want, what I desire. And the first is, I don't want to die, because I love life. I really do. I'm sure just like you, there are some days where I like it more than others, but really, I'm scared. I'm scared of death. I don't want to. Right? I want to be here. And again, I could give you some pious nonsense about how, you know, I'm okay with that, but really, at the end of the day, I don't want to. Right? I do. I want to continue to savor in all the good things that life has to offer. And for me, over the course of my 7 years as a priest, I've seen all of those things. Right? That is that number one desire, that I love life. But the second desire that I have, if I'm being honest, is I don't want to live forever. Now, let me unpack that, because this is one of those things that became a concrete reality in my life last May when my father passed away. Because I came to recognize that for me to live in this life forever means to live without him, to live without grandparents. You know, I mean, really, since I've been ordained a priest in 7 years, I have been at the funeral of 6 students, 6 individuals who I had taught at one time or another. And for me, if we could come up with a serum that solved the problem of death, I don't think I'd take it. Because that most fundamental desire for me, and that would mean that I have to live in this life without people who I deeply love and I deeply want to see again. So the question for me then is, how can I make sense of both of those realities? How can I make sense of this reality that I don't want to die, but also at the same time that I'm not satisfied with this life? The only way that those two things can make sense, the only way that they're not a contradiction, is if Jesus Christ died and rose again. Right, again, we see this in our second reading here today, St. Paul to the Romans. Right, how can he say this? How can he say that hope does not disappoint? The only way that he can say that hope does not disappoint is if our hope is based on a faith. And our faith is not based on some naive optimism, but a truth, a reality that Jesus Christ, that he died on Calvary, and 3 days later, when the apostles, when they went to that tomb first thing in the morning, that it was empty, that Jesus Christ had risen from the dead. That's how today we can say, in a sense of joy, that we come forward here, right, offering this most holy of sacrifices, because Jesus Christ rose from the dead. And you know, and that's kind of the beauty, right, is that even in the midst of the tragedy of loss, and it is a tragedy, it is a difficulty, that kind of like Dante, just as Beatrice, right, the thought of Beatrice, a woman who he loved, died, that was the thing that ushered him up from the inferno through the purgatory, ultimately into heaven. Right, that for us, it's those loved ones who have gone before us, right, that desire to be in perfect communion with them and with God in the life to come. That's the thing that, like St. Paul, can give us hope, and that hope does not disappoint. So what I would say for us as we celebrate this memorial mass is, as we get done here and as we make pilgrimage over to the library, as we look at that altar that is put forward, right, that great tradition that the Hispanic cultures have put forward, right, in remembering the dead on that altar, that we too can say that our hope is not in vain, because our hope is built on our faith in Jesus Christ. That Jesus Christ, who died and then 3 days later rose from the dead.